from on your lunch break, or you're working from home, or you're listening while you're doing something else, and we truly appreciate it.
Yes, every Friday we spend this time together from 12 to 1 Eastern time, and we talk about a subject. Sometimes it could be messages that I've taught or preached or First Ladies ministered on,
Mhm.
and we bring that subject to the table, and we don't preach it to you, we don't prophesy it to you. We have a discussion about it, and what we love about it is that it enables us to have interaction with the congregation, the members, and then people that are all over the country that want to be a part. So as you guys start coming in, just chime in on us and let us know you're in the house so we can give you a shout out.
Yes, and if you could share, invite people to be a part, and just share a little bit while we're waiting for people to come on, and let us know what we have going on, what you have going on. Maybe talk about what happened yesterday. Just gives people some time.
Yeah, yeah, we can do a lot of things. And I want you to talk about the podcast too. But a lot of great things are going on. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to get the my first vaccine for COVID-19. It's one of two shots. It's the two shot that we're getting that I got, and I was there able to meet over at the health department with the mayor and city county councilman, president. Dr. Kane does an amazing job of what she does, and then several other community leaders or pastors that were there, and I got the first shot. And I really want to encourage you guys that when you are um, when it's available to you, to make sure that you take advantage of it. I can't tell anybody what to do if people have so many different misconceptions, though, and I think that sometimes it's just really dangerous to have the wrong misconceptions as it
Mm-hmm.
relates to something so important as this. We plan on getting Jeremiah vaccinated, my wife vaccinated. I'll go back and get my other one, and I think they said around 28 days or so. And they sent me the schedule for that just the other day, and they already have me locked in to go back and get the second one. So whenever it's available to you, please, for God's sake, make sure that you get that, and keep your family safe, keep yourself safe, and keep the people around you that you love you safe. And then when we come back to church as well, that's going to be an incredible benefit for everyone. The
Right.
fact that people are getting vaccinated.
Right. And one of the, they just opened it up where teachers will be able to be vaccinated.
Hmm.
The whole concern with the schools, but yeah, we know the kids didn't transmit it, but it was more so the adults having to quarantine and schools not having enough staff,
Hmm.
because every time a staff showed some type of symptoms or they were exposed to someone who had it, then,
Yeah,
they had to stay home.
exactly.
So we encourage you to do the best that you can do to find out more information about it. Just don't make a decision off of Facebook posts, or
Right,
talk to your doctor. Because
right.
the first thing that Pastor and I did was we made sure we talked to our physicians. I talked to our pediatrician, and I said, what are your thoughts on when Jeremiah, has the opportunity to get the vaccination? So that's what you do. That's who you have the conversations with.
And let me just take away any fears that you may possibly have about it. This first shot, this vaccination that I got yesterday, when I got done, I came home. We were doing things around the house as a family. Nothing was different. I feel absolutely fine.
Right.
I feel,
I know,
except for
babe.
my kids might have been tripping.
Right, but everybody says that we've talked to that had it. It's the second shot.
Yeah, yeah, and I do know it's a second, but I'm just telling you, as far as the first is concerned,
Yeah,
it's
with
cool.
the second shot, they say some people felt bad for a day, some people felt bad for a couple of days.
She's outside acting as if she can't get in. I see her keep running back and forth.
Okay, but I really, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
hon.
the second shot, as First Lady was saying, that's the one that they say that sometimes people don't feel well for a day or so or something like that, and it can vary with different people. But I tell you what, I can't wait for the second one. To be honest with
No,
you,
that's Sam's butt.
was that who that was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
But that will. I can't wait for the second one because I know that the quicker we get this thing done, the more people get it, the safer things are going to be for all of us. Especially when we start talking about doing a soft opening going into the spring and so forth as it relates to the church and having a certain number each week in ministry to share with us.
Yeah. No, see, I got this under control, and you just messed up my rhythm.
What happened?
We're
Oh,
going.
with that?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
our Instacart delivery,
Oh, okay.
and you
My
told
bad.
me Judah was running back and forth.
But I did see somebody come and then go back, so I don't know if somebody else dropping something off or what. I saw a couple of times. So
Yeah, well, she
okay.
got on pink. That was they had on black.
Okay, well, I'll be looking for the pink this
You
time.
be looking for
Right?
the pages. Talk to them about the conference.
Oh, let me talk about this real quick. Thank you all last week for being a part of First Lady's birthday. We still got a little bit more celebration to do, and she got a couple of things coming up um, throughout this weekend that I know that she's going to enjoy and be blessed by. So thank you all so much for being a part. She's been my wife for 25 years, and let me just say this. It really has been an amazing 25 years. And I'm not joking when I say that. You know, I just think that you have helped everything that I do become better.
Thank you, honey.
From our children to our home to our ministry. Remember what you bring to the table ministry wise, what you bring to the table, discussions I've been having with you for years as it relates to certain things with church, because having that sounding board and being able to glean that wisdom really minimizes your mistakes that you can make in ministry and things of that nature. And then you've been a good friend. We've been best friends now for 25 years as well. And it's just been a blast. So everything you got, you deserved it and more. So I hope that you were blessed. Hope you had a little bit of fun. And you and I are going to have some things coming down the pike in the future that we're going to have a real good time with too.
Yes, well, I thanks everyone for the birthday shout outs, for the love, for the gifts, for the blessings. It's been a blessing to me to be loved by so many people. And I truly appreciate that. And I love you, honey, and thank you.
You're welcome. Now, can we talk about She Word, please?
The podcast, yes, the podcast launched on February the 26th. It's the She Words podcast. She Words are motivational messages on motherhood, marriage, and mentorship. And I'm excited because it is going well. Now, it's a lot of work. I told him the other day, I said, it feels like a second job.
Right.
Because it's me and two other people, but I'm doing all of the work as far as loading it, descripting, like all of that. But I know that if I put all this time into it now, that it really can be something that lasts. I didn't want to just hit and miss with it.
No, I can promise you it's not going to be a hit and miss.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure it would do well. And we are now on, we're on Apple, we're on Google, TuneIn. We're on TuneIn, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud.
It's amazing how many platforms
it is. And then the whole thing is you have to do the work on each platform.
Right.
So I had to go through and do all the work on each platform.
Does it get easier though in terms of that part of it?
Eventually? I believe that it will. Hello, look at Linda.
Who's that?
Linda Clemens.
Miss Clemens in the house, everybody. Let me holler. Let me holler. Let's give her some screen time. We gotta give her some screen time.
Now, one thing that I can say about Miss Clemens is we brought her to our women's conference.
Awesome lady.
Last year. She has been pushing me for years. The first time I met her, she invited me to come to one of her conferences for free, and she is just an amazing talent globally in what she does, a body language expert. She's an evangelist as well. And I never had a tangible. So even though I could do things where I could speak, teach the word, I could speak motivationally, I could encourage, I needed a tangible product, and I needed to work on getting that. And I mean, I think I may have met Linda now maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while, but you know what? I can tell that it was God.
Yes.
Because that's been a covenant friendship.
It has.
And people don't always understand that there are not just friendships, but there are levels of it.
Right.
And God brings people in your life for different arenas of your life.
Yes.
To be a significant part of it. So we thank God for her.
Yes, and you have to be open when these people come to you. Like you and I both, I've always been open to mentorship. Always been open to being coached. Always been open to people, sharing tips and information on how to do things better.
Absolutely.
And you have always been the same way. And I thank God when he brings those people into our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can we talk about the conference for a second?
You be just rushing and moving.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I thought you were done because a lot of times you'll go like real quick or something. And
no, I was finished with talking.
But you were done or no?
I was getting ready to look at some of your comments.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Remember, we're interacting.
Go ahead.
Them. Ashley says, Dad said he's proud of you for getting yours. Thanks, Deacon Struthers. I appreciate that. Marvin says, I'm waiting on you, Pastor. He was waiting on you to get the vaccine. He said, I'm getting it now. He said, no lie, I was scared. So he's just being real.
No, is that Marvin?
Yes, Marvin's
that's my dude right there.
Yes. Here's one. Linda says, proud of you. Love you both. You're a wonderful student, sis. You. And then Kimberly Johnson says, I give vaccines once a week. Come to Eskenazi.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Listen, good. Y'all. Marvin, listen, man. Listen. I'm telling
Look, Coco says she agrees with me. Pastor is rushing today.
Okay, who is that?
Coco that sings. She Coco praise team.
Ain't nobody asked you Coco.
I'm just playing. I'm just
like
Coco. Hi, Coco.
Look at. She gonna put me out there like that. But no, I got you. You're right. Every now and then I have to admit when you ladies are right. It's not something I enjoy doing, but I have to admit when you guys are
but
right.
Let me tell you what they said about you. You were on the news this morning and yesterday.
Was I on there?
So a lot of people saw it because when Councilman Vop was getting his shot, you could see you in the background.
Yeah.
Several people from church said the same thing.
Everybody
said Pastor had this look like, hurry up. What's taking y'all so long? And you weren't even talking. But I got so many messages saying,
but you know what,
I saw Pastor on the news. He had that look like, y'all better hurry up.
Okay, but no, I got to go ahead and plead my case on this one, though, because y'all wrong on this one. Because I actually was excited about being there because when I got there and saw some other ministers, I had not saw the Outlaws and those guys. Yes. We had saw them in Asia. So we were talking, we must have talked about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yes, which is good. When preachers get together, they do be talking.
Yeah. So y'all was wrong on that one. So quit hurting the brother.
They
like
said
that.
you look
coming at me like
at
that.
the time you were sitting in a chair though by yourself with your phone. You know how they had y'all spaced out on the news.
Yeah, because right after that though, as soon as that part went off, that's when we did all the interacting and we started coming up and everybody was waiting for their turn. So everybody was talking and all that. We had a good time.
Your congregation knows you well. They said Pastor was looking like hurry.
I do. I get like that sometimes, but y'all wrong on yesterday, doggone.
So you're gonna talk about the conference, and then we're gonna go into our topic for today.
Yes, we're very, very excited about this. As you guys know, I've been placed in the position of overseer of marriage and family, full gospel ministry and fellowship, and it's really going to be an exciting time. So this is our first time hosting a marriage event for full gospel, which means people are going to be watching this from all over the world. So New Life, there's something, and all the people that are watching this and will watch this in the near future, I need you to do something, and that is going to be to get registered. But before you do it, let me tell you what you're registering for. The theme of the conference is called Home Improvement, and we have incredible classes, incredible instructors. I'm sitting next to one of the incredible instructors. She's going to be doing a great class on parenting, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna check that out. I'm checking out everybody during this conference, but it's going to be virtual. So let me tell you what it means. What that means that you don't have to do is you don't have to pay for a flight, you don't have to pay for a hotel, you don't have to pay for a rental car and meals. All you got to do is turn your computer on, and you're going to have access to 15 different classes that are available for marriage and family. And what we try to do is specifically design it so that it includes everyone. We know that there's a strong population of singles, and some singles may have been married before, but a lot of singles might be just single and a single parent, or they might just be a single person. We have a workshop that's going to be done by my boy now, Pastor YPJ Miller. He's going to be teaching a class called Singles, Doing It Single, but Doing It Right. Yes. And it's going to be amazing. First ladies on parenting. So let me give you a rundown a little bit of the classes. Some of the classes are going to include the following subjects: in-laws versus outlaws, how to deal with extended family, the danger of bringing the pressures of ministry from God's house to your house. Good. Another one called Let's Talk About It. That's going to be on communication. We have another one called Parenting with Purpose. That's First Lady. Parenting Your Parents. That's another one. And that's dealing with your parents as they're towards that latter part of their life and really trying to oversee and help them as much as you possibly can. There's a session on that. There's a session on, because COVID, there's been so many losses of lives. We're calling it Life After Death. And this will be dealing with the passing of the transition of a spouse. How do you develop your life after that kind of death? Two Goals Under One Roof. Pastor Jathan Austin, his wife, will be doing that. And they're talking about how to get your purpose and destinies on on the same page and
Mm-hmm.
be able to move those forward.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing when it's time to get help. That's
Mm-hmm.
by Dr. or Bishop Robinson, Guy Robinson. He has a doctorate degree in ministerial psychology. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's heavy, and he's going to be dealing with that subject because for especially in our community, so many people for so many years have been reluctant to get psychological help, whether that be counseling or whether that be some form of medicine or whatever it might be. But that is going to be an incredible class. Effectively dealing with your adult children. That's going to be a home run right there. We have one on blended families. We got the singles and single parenting, and then we have singles. So it's going to be loaded.
Yeah, so no matter what your role is in the family, there's going to be something on there for you. And there's something. And then the thing about it, it's just not a one-day thing.
Yeah.
You can watch it once you purchase the conference.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it multiple times. That's the thing I love about the virtual conferences is because I like to listen to things sometimes when I'm getting ready, when I'm driving, and they will be able to do that. And that is going to be a blessing for many of us.
It's going to be a game changer.
Yes.
And that's the thing. When you register for the conference, you get to have all of these instructors, all of these classes, and all of the keynote sessions. Bishop Joseph Warren Walker III,
Yes.
Dr. Stephanie, his wife,
Yes.
they're going to be doing a class on making it all work. How in the world do they manage their life?
Right.
With the size of his church, the size of his fellowship, and
Yes.
everything that Dr. Stephanie does as well.
Right.
That's a session that I can't wait for because I know we're going to need that. And then Bishop Paul Morton and Pastor Deborah Morton are going to be doing a session on building long-term family success. In other words, succession. They'll deal with a lot of those different things.
Right. So it's going to be an amazing conference. So you're going to hear us talk about that up until that time. But what is our topic today in the family room? Thank you for joining us. My name is Lady Alicia Ramsey. It's my husband, Pastor John F. Ramsey Sr. And the family room is under JR Ministries, where we focus on faith, family, and finances.
Yes.
So last week, even though we talked about my birthday, like the first half, the second half, we talked about finances. Yeah. So we stayed in, one of the foundations of JR Ministry. And this is another foundation because we're going to focus on family today. Yeah,
we're going to talk about family today, but we're also in particular going to talk about communication and relationships.
But that's what I'm talking about, family.
And it's such a key subject that all of us need reminders on. I need reminders on it, and so it's so many different principles that we're going to share with you guys a little bit as we just talk about effectively, because you're talking doesn't mean you're connecting.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about how do you go about doing that? How do you go about improving your communication in a relationship? Mm-hmm. A lot of times people say, well, you ever heard somebody say, well, I just gave them a piece of my mind. You ever heard somebody say that? All of us have heard somebody say that, and many of us have said it before. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. But the problem is the Bible says, speak the truth, in love. That last part is what becomes challenging when you're angry, when you're upset, when your feelings are hurt. That last part becomes extremely challenging, having the emotional discipline to know how to speak the truth, but to still do it in the spirit of love versus the spirit of wrath or anger or violence or whatever the scenario might be.
Or the spirit of, I told you so.
Right.
Or the spirit of, I know what I'm talking about and you don't.
Exactly.
Of arrogance, maybe that's another spirit of people, or the way they communicate.
But would you do me a favor? Would you take a minute and just kind of elaborate on that whole thing, as much as we deal with that with other people and just how much that comes up for us? That's a real challenge.
Which one?
The whole arrogance piece, because it's almost like some couples try to prove that they know more than the other one, or it's a I told you so type of a thing. And what I've always believed is that you can be right and wrong at the same time. You can be right in terms of whatever the scenario is, but wrong in how you come at it.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. I think in our profession as well, what we do for a living, ministers, pastors, and their wives sometimes can have, and I just want us to talk about it so they can see that example too. The communication. We said this on the video we did not too long ago, the fact that you got to leave that at the altar, almost like leave it in the church building.
Yeah.
And then when you come home, you communicate. And so, and, you know, it may be someone that stays at home and takes care of the kids, and her husband works, and then they want to come home and talk to, you know, their wife like they're talking to their employees.
Right.
It may be vice versa. Maybe your husband's laid off right now, the wife is working, and she comes home and want to talk to him, you know, like he's one of her employees. It's really important for us to learn how to communicate. Everyone learn how to communicate to each other.
Yeah, it really is, because it affects every area of your life. You know, someone wrote a book that everybody's talking but nobody's listening, and in this book they talk a lot about how listening is a part of conversation.
Yes.
How important that is to communication.
Yes.
Is listening, because there are people that when they get upset, they're listening, but they're listening for when they can jump back in with what they want to say and what they want to communicate. So
Right.
we're going to talk about just some principles of communication, principles regarding communication in relationships, whether it be marriage, whether it be dating, whether it be in your working career. They're really universal. These principles are universal. They'll work in any type of context.
Okay.
So let me jump into the one. And one of the first ones we want to deal with is the fact that if you're going to be effective in your communication, number one, you got to be honest. You just have to be honest. And here's what the Bible says in Ephesians 4, verse number 25. It says, therefore, put away falsehood, each one of you, speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. So he's talking about put away falsehood. He's talking about speaking the truth. If you guys are wondering what's going on, the dog is trying.
Right, and he just needs to go.
He's trying
you got to
come
stop
on,
giving
get
him
out.
attention.
Come on. He's trying his best to get in the picture, but it's talking about speaking the truth, and it's talking about not speaking falsehood. Falsehood can sometimes be denial. You know, hey, what's wrong? I know something's going on. No, nothing's going on. Well, that's the falsehood that this verse is talking about, and that's not being truthful.
Why do people do that?
Well, I think they do that because sometimes they can do it because they're not ready to deal with it.
Okay.
Sometimes they can deal with it because they're angry and they don't want to explode and go to a level that, you know, they can't control.
Yeah, that's what somebody said. Dolores Ryan said it's too easy to snap. Yeah. So sometimes they do that because.
That's right, Miss Dolores. Miss Dolores.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's for several reasons. One, sometimes because they don't want to snap, they don't want to go off, and everything escalates over a matter of minutes. Right. And then sometimes they need time to just kind of pull it in and know how to approach it, and then come back to it.
Right. So, and is it okay to give them that time?
Absolutely. I think you need to. I think you need to, because sometimes if you force them, no, we're gonna do this right now. I used to do that a lot. We're gonna do this right now.
Pause right there and tell them that one more time.
Are you getting ready to get slain in the spirit?
No, I'm not gonna get slain in the spirit. Whenever I get a moment, and I want you to share it with them, that you are saying this out of experience, because that was the way you used to be.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and talk about it? You talk about it then.
Well, okay, and
then throw it back to me and let me respond to it.
Okay. The reason I'm saying this is because when people first get married or they first get in a relationship, sometimes they want to arrive at where we are now, and it took us time to get there. Yeah. And one of the things that we had to go through in our communication was he wanted to communicate right away. I wanted time to process. So we didn't communicate well in the beginning because of that fact. So what do you think it was that got us to the point where we learned how to get into that rhythm?
I think several things got us to that point. One is respect.
Okay.
2, understanding your spouse.
Okay.
3, desiring to fix the issue more than be right.
Give yourself a hand clap, because people need to understand
I don't know
that
if I got my stuff
you wanted to fix the issue.
I wanted to fix the issue more than just be right.
So you have to do that with your children, with your siblings, you know, with your parents, fix with your spouse, with who you're dating, with your friends. Right. The goal is to fix the issue, not be right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I've learned that, you know, because I've been in relationships, and I'm talking about like friendships with people. And I've been in friendships with people where they always had to be right.
Exactly.
They always had to be right. And I had to learn that after a while, okay, they're not getting this.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting this. So I had to make the decision: are we going to still be friends, or is this best for us to have this mutual agreement that this is not a good combination here together?
Exactly.
Because of the fact that if you always have to be right, that's not even the real world.
Yeah. And my desire at the beginning when we first got married, it was not to try to always be right, even though I thought I was.
So, okay, don't even try it. Don't even
though
try
I was
it.
about 97.5% of the time.
Your goal was to be right.
I was right most of the time.
Your goal was to be right.
No, but anyway, that wasn't really my driving force. I really feel that what drove me is that I wanted to try to fix it quickly. I didn't want it to linger. And I also didn't want to get to the point where I would shut myself down, because I used to do that, and that just is not a good mindset to have. So
get them to explain that passive aggressive, because some people, they deal with, in their relationships, the other one explodes.
Yeah.
And then in some relationships, the other one, like I was an exploder. I would explode. He was passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. So that's the way we would deal with things. And you have to know what you're dealing with in relationships. Right. So if you're dating a guy or you're dating a girl, you have a confrontation and then they don't text you, call you for 5 days. Mm-hmm. That's like passive aggressive.
Yeah. And for me, it wasn't so much of trying to be passive aggressive as it was just trying not to get to a certain point, or trying not to explode, or getting so frustrated I didn't know what to do.
And babe, some of it was passive aggressive.
I'm telling you, I just qualified it. I just said we can ready to argue on camera, y'all. No, but I just said some of it was, but I also my thing is too, when I would get to a certain level of frustration about the whole situation, that will cause me to kind of want to shut it down too. So it's both. I'm not denying one.
No, but I'm saying that's a shutdown like for a day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's passive aggressive when it's 3 days, 5 days, 7 days.
I used to do that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying in that.
Yeah.
So I understand, like, you don't want to, go off, blow up, get volatile, those type of things, which people can do.
Yeah.
When you saw that growing up, you try to deal with how you're gonna handle things. So I get that 100%.
Yeah.
I've known people and I've counseled people where they've been in situations where the wife would get upset and maybe yell, and the husband would be passive aggressive, and he would go weeks without speaking to his wife, and they lived in the same house.
Yeah.
That's when you need to get some help.
That's when you really do need to get some help. So, for me, I really feel like a lot of ours was just, it was about growing and maturing. And I want to tell you that a lot of people, would you agree with this statement?
Yes.
A lot of people think they're mature until they get married.
That's true. That's true.
I believe that marriage is a proving ground for maturity. It measures that maturity. Am I really mature? I'm going to see that with how I handle engagement with my spouse when things aren't going well, when somebody's frustrated, when somebody explodes, when something happens that you didn't anticipate it, and now you're going another round about something. Right. And it seems like you can't find the fix for this particular area, and we keep bumping up against this. I mean, that's when you find out where your maturity is. And I really learned after I got married that I don't think I was as mature as I thought I was. I wasn't as mature as my age.
You thought you was.
I had to learn. There's a whole lot of difference between teaching this stuff, y'all, and daily application.
It is different.
It's a different animal. Wouldn't you agree with that?
It is. There's a couple of questions, a couple of comments. One comment was Marvin said, I used to shut down, but I've gotten better. I think that's a common trait of many men. Lauren has this question. Do you feel like your spouse has to be your best friend? You tell me what you think, and I have what I feel about it.
No, you go first.
Okay. I feel as if nobody comes before him. It's God and then him. And then everybody else. I have a best friend, but my best friend doesn't come before my spouse. So that's the thing. So when we say,
that's a good way of putting it.
When we say we are best friends, meaning we are, best friends. But when it comes to I have a best friend, I have a best girlfriend, but when it comes to the order of my life and how my family works, the same way with her, she honors it, and she is the same way. That is God first. She respects that he is important in my life. So if he has something planned, I don't cancel plans with him to do something with my best friend.
Right.
You know, that's where you find that balance in your relationship, and you understand a real good, solid, divine connection best friend understands the role of the spouse.
No question. No question. I mean, I got to agree with that.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want to, but I got to agree with that because it's right. Because, I think the way you put it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have said it any better because I have, several guys that I'm very, very close to.
Right.
But there is no way my friendship with them outside of her would be considered best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way that it trumps or supersedes this relationship at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no comparison when it comes to our marriage / friendship. That's not going to be trumped. But in her everyday life outside of the marriage, she has a best friend that, and I think they know how to do it, and they know how to do it right because they've been best friends for 41 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Here's a question from Sheila Thompson. It says, my question is, when in a relationship, when we have a problem and one wants to talk about it and work it out and the other one doesn't, 2 days go by and the one who wanted to resolve it brings it back up. And always the first thing he says is that it's in the past. We never resolve anything and he gets mad and still doesn't want to talk about it. Help. That's common. Very common.
That's very common. That was common with us. That was common with me.
Yes.
But here's the thing. It's about growing and maturing and not staying stuck in the same area. Because it's obvious if you're dealing with that problem and you've been dealing with it for a period of time, guess what, my brother? It ain't working. So let's try to find another route to come at that thing. And I think it's important. I think it's a good thing that she wants to talk about it and trying to encourage you to come along and get involved with it. My wife would do the same thing.
But may I say that we're talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
So what does she do?
What does she do? I think she's going to have to, this is not going to be a real deep answer, but I think that you're going to have to give it to God and you're going to have to be patient. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, continue to assert yourself with offering the opportunity to communicate about it. At some point, he's going to have to respond to that. And but in the meantime, when you're becoming frustrated about it, you're going to have to take that to God. Obviously, you got to study the word and everything else. But don't stop doing what you're doing, because to be honest with you, what you're doing is right. And a lot of you ladies out there, you are the reason why a lot of us come out of that, because of your persistence of wanting to talk about it when the guy's trying to say, no, it's in the past. No, I want to deal with that.
For us as well. So he wanted to deal with things right then and there. I didn't want to deal with things sometimes, especially when I was really angry about it. What I had to learn to figure out and talk to him about, and he had to talk to me about, it was the approach. Mm-hmm. So if he wanted to talk about something right away, it was how he approached me with it. And the same thing with me. If I wanted to talk to him about something, I had to understand how to approach him with it. If he did something to hurt my feelings, or if I did something he didn't like, how do you reproach each other with that subject? Because that definitely, can help. Not saying it always works, but it can definitely help make the person feel safe or comfortable and put their guard down. Because the moment you address something with someone, they get defensive.
Right.
And they are waiting, like you said, for that comeback.
Especially if your approach is wrong. You come in, look, we need to talk about this right now. Now it's just, and I was a little strong from time to time when I would come in. But I learned how to grow, and I learned how to balance that and bring that to a place where I can say, hey, I want to talk about something when you get a couple of minutes, something I want to talk to you about. And then she'll say, hey, 30 minutes later, hour later, whatever. Hey, what was that you want to talk about? Well, here's what I want to talk about. And I want to kind of lay this out. I want you to hear me out.
Right.
And then I want you to respond to it.
Right. Now, something I don't like, and he knows that, and we've gotten better at that. We could sit down and have a discussion about something or talk about something, and believe it's done. Mm-hmm. And he may come back 2 days later and bring that to me. Then I will go Shaniqua and be like, why are you bringing this up now? We talked about this 2 days ago. But what he told me was, I didn't think of that when we were having that conversation. Mm-hmm. So I had to realize that sometimes he says, your mind thinks differently than mine. You may get everything out that you have on your mind, but I may sleep on it or think about something a day later and realize there was something else I wanted to add to it. So I had to take it as, okay, he's not trying to bring it up again. He has something else to add to the conversation that he did not think of. He had to process it. Mm-hmm. So the way Pastor Ramsey processes things and Alicia Ramsey, we process things differently.
Right.
And I think that's where our maturity came from too, because you understood how I process things.
Right.
And then I started to learn how you process things.
Right. And then also you got to learn how to, and at the end of the day too, you also got to learn how to control your emotions and bring it down. Mm-hmm. Bring it down, because it's hard to have a productive conversation if somebody flies off. Now, it happens. Yeah, mm-hmm. It happens. Mm-hmm. But when it does, you got to recognize that and bring that back down, because that's another thing that'll shut a person down. If somebody see you just, boom, you're just going off, and they're like, okay, never mind, I'm good.
You're right. And the same thing with your children. John Ramsey Jr. shuts down immediately if we go to him irate. And he's always been that way. He has always been that way. He is the type, he cannot deal with when you yell at him. Mm-hmm. You know, you could talk firmly to him, but yelling, it would shut him down. And he is matured, and he's still the same way. When we need to address him about something, mm-hmm. there's a way that we go to him, and we don't change our discipline status, and we don't change our dealing with situations.
Yeah,
because he gets it. You know, even to this day, he kind of gives us that look like, oh Lord, here go my parents. But the big thing about it is he has to have it delivered a certain way. Jeremiah, with his exceptional needs, it's about the tone. Because he may not always comprehend exactly what you're saying. So you have to bullet point it, but your tone, and he can tell from my tone, mommy's not playing with you. This is what you need to do. And he could tell from daddy's tone. That's why he's so successful with his teacher. Miss Morrison, she's perfect with tone in her voice. Absolutely. On how to deal with him.
We had a great question coming too.
And Judah, just
work in progress. Pray our strength in the Lord. Here you go, babe. Right here.
Okay, here's
Check
the
this
question.
Out. It's right here. It's right here.
I know, but I can see it better right here.
Yeah. I know it was a great question.
Go ahead if you want to.
Marvin's basically talking about, he was at the barbershop. The guys were talking about old acquaintances and social media, and how do you deal with that, and how that stuff can tear up marriages.
Here, I can read it for you. This is a question for First Lady. I was at the barbershop earlier. The talk was about social media and how it can ruin marriages. A guy was talking about an old acquaintance DMing his wife, and he didn't know how to handle it. You should know someone's spouse believes what they don't see. Okay, do a wife lack integrity to that? Yeah, definitely. We don't believe in that.
We don't do that. I mean,
we don't do that.
I really don't worry about it, because... And I don't even know that we end up talking about it, because if we even end up talking about it, because it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And what she
knows, I'm going to have a major problem with that. But beyond that, she has a problem with that. And so it's like give and take on both. And then the other side, you know, with some of the social medias and things like that, there's no way I could read those messages. It's just too many, but I understand what they're saying.
Right.
But if you want to know what our stance on it is, you go ahead, hit that one more time, because I do believe that this is something that comes up a lot.
It is. And it's not saying that woman lacks integrity or she's this horrible person. First thing she should do was just delete, block, and let her husband know, hey, this person sent me a message. I deleted it. I blocked them. Nothing else to say. So that's the thing on how you would deal with that. But we deal with that a lot in counseling appointments, in marriage counseling, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
it is a lot, and it's something that doesn't even have to be an issue. To be honest with you,
it doesn't.
If you communicate, and you can carry yourself a certain way. Like Pastor knows, I carry myself in such a certain way in public that he doesn't have to worry about it. And I don't have to worry. I trust him. I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. And he is the same way. Like, okay, I know my wife. I know how she carries herself. It's not a problem. So that's the important thing. Like you're saying, communication.
Yeah,
what is your second one?
The trust has got to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't have a second.
Communication key.
Oh, yeah. Second one is keep current. In other words, let me explain it this way. In Ephesians, it says that to be angry, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath or your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil.
Let me put that in the thread form.
Uh-huh.
So say that. Read it again for
It
them.
says, "Be angry, but sin not. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath, nor give opportunity or place to the devil." So they're talking about, that verse is really basically talking about dealing with things and dealing with it at the time that it's an issue, and not letting it drag itself out and letting it go down on your wrath. The reason why it says that, I personally believe that the reason why, I know some things we can't always fix it today.
Right.
But the reason why they're talking about that, and that the Bible emphasizes that, is because of this: that the more you let it linger, the more opportunity bitterness has a chance to set in on you.
That's it. And it's, some conversations are, honey, some conversations are hard to have, don't you believe?
I do. Some conversations are hard to have, but they're necessary to have. And that's another reason why the approach has to be so good.
So if they have a difficult conversation to have with a someone they're dating, with a family member, maybe you're this, you're the child, and it is hard to talk to your mother or your father, and so you just don't address anything with them. So let's look at it from that standpoint. If they're dealing with a family member,
over a period of time, that even though that child is the child, they're going to get bitter with their parents.
Okay.
If they can't feel like they can address that at some point, they got to be willing to dive in. They got to be willing to address that. And I really think that when, especially with young adult children, when they come to you as a parent, when they come to you, don't police their approach. Don't police, well, this, that, and the other. Don't police, well, they ought to know better. No. Give them whatever entrance to the conversation they need to be able to have, because you want them to be able to come to you from time to time. You don't want them to say, well, I can't talk to her, she's going to explode. Mom doesn't understand, dad doesn't understand, that type of thing. So sometimes you got to be willing to be gracious and give them that latitude. Say, hey, you can go ahead, you can talk to me about that. Right. And so that at some point in time, they arrive at a place where they know they can come to you. Even though they're adult, they still feel comfortable picking up the phone, calling mom, calling dad, and say, hey, I wanted to throw this at you to see what you thought about it.
Yeah, because there's a way, I had to say that, help my brothers understand that, because whenever it was something they wanted to say about my mom, or my mom do differently, they would tell me. And they were telling me so I could tell mom. So that's always been the way our family has worked. Even dad, when my dad was alive, everybody call me, talk to mom. But the thing was always my approach with my mother, and timing with my mother, and understanding when to say something to her, when not, and always how to say it, to her, is very important. And it was important to me to make sure I would always say things to my mom the right way. And I know you were the same way. You were very good communicating with your mother. Share with them about that, because you were great at that.
From the time I was little to the time that my mother passed, we always had great communication. I always respected her. And even when I was a teenage boy, and blowing up with all these sports and these schools coming after you and all that kind of thing, I would talk to mom about things that a lot of young men wouldn't necessarily come to their mom and talk about it, because I wanted the right source to give me the information so I could do the right thing. So we had communication, and even times down the road as mom got older, there were a few conversations that were going to be unpleasant type of conversations to have, but I still came at it with a way of respect, and shared with her. I'm thinking about something in particular, that you cannot come at me that way again. You can't. You just can't do it. I don't deserve that. You don't have a right to do that. And that type. But explaining it the way that I did, it wasn't a thing for she's gonna come back with well, who you talking to like that, whatever, because it wasn't that kind of tone, it wasn't that kind of spirit. But at the same time, there was a stance involved in the conversation that I'm expecting that after this conversation is over, that you don't come back at me like that again. And here's the reason why.
And I think that's another thing with family dynamics that are important, especially when you're dating someone or you marry someone. Families communicate different. His family communicated different than my family.
Right.
And so when so now I marry him, and then you deal with the situation.
You gotta get used to that.
Right. Yes. And then you deal with the situation sometimes where your family feels like they can communicate to me the way they communicate to you.
Right.
And my family may feel like they can communicate to you the way they communicate to me.
Right.
And it doesn't always work out well.
Those were some learning times.
Those were some learning times
in our relationship
that we learned that, because I truly had to say, okay, what's up with this?
Mm-hmm.
Because in my family, I'm the oldest, and in his family, he was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, when people like you, oh no, I don't roll like that.
Right, and then that's the other reason why we kind of came up with that ideal about relationships, about marriage in particular.
Yes.
That the agreement that you got to have as a married couple is whoever it is that the family member is tripping, you be the one to check that.
Yes.
You be the one to check that. And
Yes.
so we've done that on both sides of the coin, and a lot of it we had to learn on the go, you know, and
yes.
and
or go through difficult times.
And go through some difficult times, and sometimes
yes.
where I remember times where I came at some things with maybe her family, and I just came too raw, and I shouldn't have, you know, and I had to kind of learn from that, regroup, and say, okay, I can't be doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
remember, that's how we grew into some of this revelation. All of this stuff didn't
right.
just wake up. We grew into this revelation that, okay, listen,
right.
you keep that piece over here at check, and they got to understand how this household runs. If they
right.
can't respect that, you communicate they're not welcome to come into this arena if they're not going to respect that, and vice versa. We had to kind of learn those principles and develop that as we went.
We did, and I think that sometimes people don't want to go through that to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we never tell you do not take abuse. That's not, you know, we never,
right.
you know,
right.
deal with abuse. But you're in a relationship, you're ready to get a divorce, you're ready to get out of the relationship. Well, he don't talk right. He don't talk. Okay. Are you going to get some help with that? Is he going to get some help?
right.
Or, you know, how are you going to work through those things? Because as
Mm-hmm.
Pastor said, he used to talk real strong. He wasn't trying to be mean. That was the way he communicated. Mm-hmm. So learning how do we deal with, you know, each other the right way, and then how do we communicate with each other's family? But
right.
you got to want to learn.
And you got to want to learn too. And she has a strong personality, just like I got a strong personality. But I really think that over the years we've learned how to blend that.
But they was different levels of person.
Yeah, there were different levels.
You trying to pull me in with you.
Why you gotta keep throwing me on the bus?
No, you're just trying to pull me in with you. And
no,
I'm not the same.
I am not. I am not trying.
A strong personality and saying things strong are totally different.
That is true. Okay, I'll give you that. Here. I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just but it's a learning process. Here's the thing, y'all. When you're willing to continue to learn and grow, mm-hmm. that's when your marriage gets better. It's this whole, there's so many of you, and I just want to kind of speak on this for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm not preaching to you, but I want to talk to you that there are so many of you, you major on minors.
That's good.
You squabble about the weakest stuff mm-hmm. that really has no long-term significance at all.
Yes.
And until you grow up in that area, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for anyone. If you walk out of what you got today, you're going to have a mess on your hand tomorrow, because it's going to be difficult for you with anybody, because your problem is you take you with you. Mm-hmm. And until you realize that, okay, I got to hone this in. That's the brother speaking and the sister speaking, that we both got to do this. We're not going to be able to reach the levels in the areas where her and I have today, right. where we just kind of know how it works. And you know what we also learned how to do?
Right.
And this took time. This took a long time, but we both got it. We also learned how to say, you know what? That ain't really that deep. I don't think that causes for a conversation.
Who learned that first?
Who learned it first? See, there she go again. Y'all see that, fellas? Y'all see that? You see that? I ain't saying nobody didn't learn it first. I'm just saying we learned it.
Babe, I just said that because you want to have a conversation about everything.
I understand. I did.
That was you. I love you. Love you. Love you.
Doing now, but
that's just delivery.
But anyways,
but you wanted to have a conversation about everything. That wasn't me.
I did.
And then you know what I had to learn? And let me share this with you too.
You had to learn something?
Babe.
I'm joking.
I'll admit my stuff. You know that. So I'm just telling you, I'll admit what I've done. I had to learn to pick my battles.
Me too.
I'm talking about in the beginning.
Okay, I got you.
Like the first.
Go on with your little story now.
Like the first 10, 15 years.
Go on, I'm gonna get out of it. I'm done. Go on with your conversation with your
No,
point.
it's just you're just sharing that you can't major on minors, and this is even in parenting. There are going to be battles you have to pick with your children. Like, okay, you can't address everything with your kids. You can't. Some things they have to learn through circumstance.
Yes.
And they have to learn. Okay, they're going through that situation. They have to learn.
Mm-hmm. Remember the car repair the other day?
Yes, yes, yes. And I said, he and I both have understood over the years that there are things that we have to allow God to show our children, for God to show our friends, for God to show our family members on how they can evolve from the situation. But us communicating with it, they're not going to accept it from us at this time. They weren't ready to accept, because there's times where we wanted to communicate things and God have told you and me, nope, don't say
absolutely.
nothing. Don't say nothing.
That's happened in ministry.
A lot.
God said, listen, this is not the time for that. Yeah. So you let me bring this to the table. And you learn how to say, okay, God, and you pump the brakes and you do that. Mm-hmm. People don't always want to talk about how important your relationship with God is when it comes to marriage, but it's critical. Yeah. Because the Bible said, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. That's right. And that's a huge principle right there. Yes. That's difficult to apply, but once you get a grip on that thing, it can change the nature of the relationship.
And I think one of the reasons I make sure that we share with you, I just say it all the time. People think we were always like this. Yeah. And we weren't always like this. Yeah. But we loved each other and we made the commitment that we're going to work. Right. Absolutely. We're going to work on it. Absolutely. And it takes both parties to want to work. So I hear some of you saying, well, First Lady, I want to work. He don't want to work. Okay. It takes both. Yeah. It takes both, but you start with you.
Exactly. I mean, because that's what you can control. At the end of the day, that's what you can control. Mm-hmm. And you got to want to do it. I mean, do y'all actually think that the devil is going to let you and your spouse walk into the fullness of what the Bible says marriage can be? Right. Without adversity?
Or with your kids. Yeah. The devil's going to attack your kids. He's going to attack what's closest to you. That's what he's going to do. He's going to attack your communication. He's going to attack your communication with your parents. He's going to attack your communication with your siblings. Yeah. He knows what to do to, unstifle and unstable you. Yeah. Because when family is not where it needs to be, that is a huge distraction.
It's really a bad situation. Jeremiah can tell if our environment is not right. Yes, so we have added incentive to not have a lot of dysfunction jumping off here. Right. Because Jeremiah can pick up on it.
He does. He'll go around saying, love you, mom.
Yeah, he'll go up to you, try to kiss
mom,
you. Dad,
love you. And what he's saying is he feels the tension in our household, and it doesn't work well for us. It doesn't work well for us. And I know some of you grew up in homes like that. And you don't want that in your home, but you have to fix it.
And the problem is that, you know what? I've heard, I don't know how many hundreds of people over the years become what they resented.
That's good.
You talked about what you came out, but because
right?
You weren't willing to make certain necessary changes, you became what you resented. I did a message about something like that about 15, 20 years ago. And you literally become the very thing that you resented if you don't have some intentionality there that goes into wanting to make a situation right and fix something.
No, that is so good. That is so good. This topic today has been a wonderful topic. Mm-hmm. You have one. Is that the last one?
Yes, it's one more principle.
One more principle when it comes to community. So quickly review the first two.
Okay. First couple of principles, real simple, but this was really about discussion and feedback. But number one was be honest. Be honest about your communication. In your communication, but demonstrate love in that process. And number two was to keep current. In other words, stay current on what's going on in each other's lives, and balance that out, and don't let the sun go down in your wrath. Right. And then the number three is something that we both said over the years: attack the problem, not the person.
Attack the problem, not the person. That's what we talk about with profanity. Yeah. When you start cussing somebody out.
Can I pause? Yeah. For all you cussers out there, for all my cussing members. You're wrong. You need to repent. You need to fall down in sackcloth and ashes right now.
So that's when you cut somebody out, you're not attacking the problem. You're attacking the person.
Mm-hmm.
You have to attack the problem. What did the individual do that made you that upset?
Oh my God.
What did the situation do to make you that upset?
Yeah.
And it takes time to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And pause and communicate it clearly.
And some will get creative and they cussing.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen some teenagers, man, that cuss you out like a grown person.
Some of y'all got a doctorate in cussology.
Yeah, they got some words.
Exactly. And then everybody, let me just say this last thing too, and that is that stay away from hot buttons.
Yes.
Stay away from hot buttons. Everybody that's been married for any length of time, you know a way that you can push one particular button and there's going to be an explosion.
And if you're dating somebody, so remember this, or if you want to date somebody, you know what to say to set them off and say, well, I don't know why they mad. Yeah, you do.
Leave mamas out of the conversations and daddies and siblings and all that. Leave
Stick
all that out.
to the topic. And there will be times Pastor and I will be having a conversation or something, and then he may say, well, this is what I'm talking about though. Or I may say, let's stay on the topic. So you are the one that needs to bring the person back to this is what we're talking about. And then deal with that situation.
Because a lot of times we start trying to pull other stuff into discussion that doesn't have anything to do with that particular session. That means, number one, you didn't settle it back here.
Right.
And number two, you're trying to make what you didn't settle back here a smoke screen to avoid a subject that you may not want to deal with right now.
And one thing I believe that you and I have matured into, there are going to be times when we just don't agree. We can agree to disagree.
There are a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
A lot of things in life that just not that deep.
We're not going to agree.
And we don't have a lot of that, but it's just some things, somebody said this a long time ago. Look at your current problem and then take that problem and drop it in the context of eternity. Is it really that deep? And sometimes you'll discover that it's not. So, everything, sometimes you got to agree to disagree and do it without an attitude because some things are not that important.
Right. You're not going to like all of the same things.
Like TV shows that we do. We both watch different things. We watch some things together, no question. But there are other things that and it's no big deal.
Yeah. But I think you and I, we like more of different things. And
we do.
Okay. We're still compatible. We still get along. You may not like the music that your kids listen to, but that's the music they listen to. As long as it's not disrespectful, But I mean, if your child is like 30, you may not like some of the things that they, do if it's not breaking the law.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But you don't always have to, I can't stand you. I can't stand and you. And then you wonder why they don't want to be around you.
Now, if it's in your house, is one thing.
Well, I'm talking about like a 30-year-old.
Yeah. So they could still be in your house.
Well, I'm talking about your adult children that may live on their own, or be on their own.
Oh,
and, well, I don't like your hair like that, and I don't like that. And that's when you really have to learn those things that, this is what they choose to do. This is how they choose to live their life.
And successful relationships require a strong level of patience. Everything doesn't just happen overnight. And it's important that we learn how to just do this thing, but that we also understand that it's going to be a work in progress. But here's the thing. When you stick with it long enough, you can get to a place where you have a great, great relationship. And that's where you want to be.
Yeah, Sheila asked if we could have a drive-through communion this Sunday. She's ready for one. So we are working. We just talked about that.
We're going to be talking about
a lot of things.
Yeah.
And this, how we're going to do some things.
And you guys just stay tuned to everything we do over the next few weeks, whether it be the podcast, whether it be Family Room, whether it be midweek Bible study, or whether it be Sunday morning, because we are putting some more meetings together. And we're going to start massaging this whole idea of a soft opening later in the spring. So just stay with it. But in the meanwhile, we probably might be just due for one of those. So we're going to work on that.
Yeah, we just talked about that. And we need you to stay tuned because on Sunday, Pastor's going to be announcing we're going to be doing a church fast. So get yourself ready. That is coming up before we
all your fat
Easter.
back.
Because Easter is the first Sunday in April.
Fat back.
Yeah, so it's coming up soon. And
Yeah, so it's gonna
daylight
be coming up.
savings time is coming up soon. Like we're getting ready for
Yeah.
spring to come.
Yeah, it's getting ready to happen. Once again, guys, as we get ready to wrap up, we're going to close out in prayer. Make sure you share this as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
We really do feel like the things that we try to bring to the table are meaningful and significant to people's lives. Make sure you support today. You can do that through the Cash App. You can do that through the text to give, or you can do that through the church website. Any one of those three, you can do that. Hope you guys got blessed. Share it. Let's get it out. Now, listen, I'm going to drop all the links out in just the next 10, 15 minutes. Go on right now and get registered for the Marriage and Family Conference, Home Improvement. You need to do that. All you got to do is click on the link. And I can tell you this, that the registration is about half of what some of the other registrations are. And so we're doing that intentionally, trying to have a certain level of sensitivity towards COVID, the impact and all of that. So, I mean, if you don't register for this, you probably just don't want to be a part of it. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a blessing. Get registered today. We need you to do that. Let's pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you and we love you. We just adore. We adore you. We thank you for what you've called us to do. We thank you for the lives that you place in and around us. And I pray today that you would use this subject matter from today to strengthen families, to strengthen marriages, to strengthen even dating relationships, and allow us to have the self-discipline to take a better approach to dealing with sensitive matter. And we'll be certain to give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us today in the family room. If you came in late, make sure you go back and watch it in its entirety. All of the family rooms stay on the Facebook Live. Make sure you subscribe to Pastor Ramsey's YouTube page.
Podcast.
Share. Yes, and subscribe to the She Works podcast on Apple, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. SoundCloud too. So thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Having those I've never even heard of. There's so many nowadays.
I know.
But it's awesome because the more places that you're in, the more access it gives. That's the important thing. So y'all be blessed, be encouraged, have an incredible weekend, and make sure that you are streaming on Sunday morning for the 9 and 12 service.